Nice more Gene 12, Chief Meteorologist Patrick.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
It's preparedness time, Thursday, 11 o'clock. We're talking about preparedness. Are you prepared for when the lights go out? Are you planning on government assistance? Yeah, I don't think the Obama administration has any interest in helping you out. They're too busy trying to take care of the bankers. They're too busy worried about the big fish, not the little guys, not the little folks like you and me. If a disaster hits you, you are going to either be prepared or you're going to die. It's that simple. The government is not going to be there to help you. It might be a couple of weeks. They might give some money to some other agencies that might get some food to you. But seriously, has the government ever made anything better? The Obama administration, they're not going to do it. We've got a bunch of different people fighting to be president. Have you ever seen a more ridiculous bunch of adults trying to become one of the most powerful people in the world? The president of the United States shouldn't be acting like these clowns in both the Republican debates, well, mostly on the Republican side. And the Democrats, come on, we have the choice of a future felon or a socialist. Neither one of those appeal to me. On the Republican side, 4, 5, 6 months ago, I was thinking this was a shoo-in. Who are we going to have to be the Republican president? Should be pretty simple. These people have annihilated themselves to the point where I don't think anybody really trusts any of the top candidates. I mean, John Kasich is getting votes. The only reason he's in fourth place is because he's hung around, not because he's a capable guy to be president. And the top two, Cruz and Trump, I don't know that I trust either one of them. But God, let's do anything to keep Hillary out. We've got to keep her out of the White House. Anyway, it doesn't matter who any of these folks are going to be, because you are going to take responsibility for your life. You're going to be prepared. This is the Patriot Prepper Show. We're sponsored by P5 Preparedness, and I am going to help get you prepared. All you have to do is pay attention, take the advice, get off your rear end, and do something. Start making a difference in your own family's life. You probably have life insurance, medical insurance, car insurance. Those are for when things go bad. But do you have living insurance? Do you have enough food and water to take care of your family in a disaster? There's a lot of stories that you're starting to hear that are creeping up. If you're still stuck on the Good Morning America, Today Show, mainstream media crap, you're not getting the real news. You need to go find the real stories and find out what's really happening out there. And you're going to be surprised just what the professionals are saying about some of the things that are coming. Those are the things that we're going to talk about today. This show, the Patriot Prepper Show, airs every Thursday right here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. And it's also on the TuneIn app. If you have a smartphone, iPad, you can download that app and you can find the show. We're also broadcasting live on YouTube. You just do a search for Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube, and you'll find the show live streaming. We always do a recording of the show, and it's on the station there on YouTube. And in the notes section, you'll find a little bit of the topics and some of the links that we're talking about during the broadcast. And you should really pay attention. When you're driving, you don't have a lot of time to write things down. But if you go to YouTube, Hot News Talk Radio, search for P5 Preparedness, or the Patriot Prepper Show, you'll get to our videos. We've been doing this every week for about 12 weeks. I think the show, it's getting more participation, which is a good thing, but the participation really needs to be on your end. A lot of people ask, what does P5 stand for? That stands for proper planning prevents poor preparedness. And then I always say there should be a sixth P for practice. You've got to plan. You've got to get the skills, the gear, the food. You've got to get that stuff. You have to get it. You have to know how to use it. You have to know how to stretch your food. But can you imagine, you see these third world countries, You see the kids with the big bellies because they have been drinking poor, contaminated water. Can you imagine if a disaster happened in our area and there's water all around us. We've got rivers, streams, creeks. There's flash flooding everywhere. But every drop of that water is contaminated. It's either going to have sewage in it or animal droppings or pesticides. You think about if you have an oil leak in a car, where's that runoff go? It goes down the storm drains. It goes into creeks. We use pesticides on our house. We got to make our lawn look pretty, right? We got to have the companies come out and spray all the crap on our yards and our gardens. And we get all the pesticides and crap on there that really harms us. It may kill the bugs, but it also kills the birds and other animals. So they end up in the water. You don't know what's in your water supply. So you've got to have a water filter. That's a basic necessity. Everybody should have a water filter of some sort. At P5 Preparedness, we have the Sawyer water filter, the Sawyer Mini. It'll filter 100,000 gallons of water. That's 4 backyard swimming pools of water. Can you imagine? I was talking about the kids in the foreign countries. Could you imagine if our kids get dysentery, if they get other things? There are like cryptosporidium. That's in the water everywhere. That'll cause serious digestive problems, diarrhea, nausea. If you don't have a water filter for your kid, for your family, that's tantamount to child abuse. Could you imagine if you could prevent your kid from getting sick just by getting them fresh drinking water? In every emergency, people are going to be thirsty. And $25 for a water filter? Are you kidding me? You can buy 3 or 4 cases of bottled water for that. But it is incredibly easy. With this water filter, you don't have to pump. All you do is you fill up a 16-ounce water bag that comes with it, or you can fill up a 20-ounce soda bottle or a 2-liter bottle. You screw it on the end, and you squeeze it out. You squeeze it out into a clean cup or into a Nalgene bottle, something like that, something that's easily drinkable. We also have larger water filters. The all-in-one Sawyer, we sell it for $70. That'll filter a million gallons of water. That's a gravity-fed filter where you hook it up, you drill a hole in a water storage container, like a 5-gallon bucket. The filter's on the end of it. 1 million gallons of water. You could provide fresh drinking water to your entire neighborhood. Won't you be the hero of a disaster? $70. P5 Preparedness. That's where you need to go to get those water filters. All right. A few other things I want to talk about. The main topics today we're going to talk about are dangers to the electrical power grid. As preppers, survivalists, you think of us, a lot of people think of us as the kooks, the crazies, that old crazy hoarder down the street or back in the woods. You know what? A lot of us, we've seen things that will make you really sick to your stomach. If you knew some of the things that happen in the world. We're not crazy. We're not conspiracy theorists. You may think we are. We're just maybe a couple of years ahead of our time. Maybe we see things differently than you do. We're not crazy. We just want to be ready. We don't count on the government to help us for our survival. I don't want to get put in some camp for my protection where they provide me with the food, the water that they want me to eat or drink. When I can be free, I can take care of my family on my own, and I don't have to survive on anybody just because I took a little bit of precaution ahead of time. Last week we talked, and actually the week before, last week was Severe Weather Awareness Week. Well, that's because we're coming up on the 2 or 3 most severe periods or months for severe weather, for tornadoes. We prepare ahead of time. Not when it happens, not the week it happens, not the day before it happens. We prepare in advance, and we want to help you. At P5 Preparedness, we offer a number of classes from the beginning prepper. If you are hearing me and you think that maybe I'm a little off my rocker, or maybe I've piqued your curiosity, come by the store, P5, this Saturday from 10 to 3. I'll be there. I'll give you all the time I have. We can talk. We had quite a heated discussion yesterday at the store about a couple of different interesting topics. And that's what we do. We talk to the people that come in about a variety of things. We'll talk to you like we're your friend, because we want to be your friend from a perspective of we care about you. We want you to be prepared. You have got to take the initiative here. So P5 Preparedness, it's located on East Brainerd Road, where that's off exit 3A on I-75. If you take exit 3A, we're less than a mile up the road. You'll see the big Army green, ugly deuce-and-a-half truck. It's got signs that say P5 Preparedness. There's a couple other stores in there that people like to visit. And, if you're going by one of those stores, come visit us, Tool, as well. The store, we've got a lot of really cool stuff in the store. We've got ham radios. We can offer you classes on how to teach the ham radios. We have a lot of long-term storage food that it's nitrogen packed, it's freeze dried, and it'll last up to 30 years. We've got probably the only working aquaponics system that you can come visit in a retail location, and you can see the bluegill fish that we've been raising for over a year now. And you can see the vegetable plants that we've grown totally indoors from seeds. We've got tomato plants that are close to being 8 feet tall now. We had to keep cutting them back. We've got green peppers like you wouldn't believe. The cabbage that we've got is really coming in. We've got kale, spinach is in there. There's a few other things that are going in there. And we offer classes on the aquaponics system as well. And come by, check us out. We want to help you get ready. All right. So I always talk about some news tidbits up front. One of the things I've been talking about for the last 6 weeks, and this is the last time I'm going to mention it, is the Baltic Dry Index. And the reason I'm going to quit mentioning it is because it's bottomed out, and for 4 weeks in a row, it's gone up. It's up to 370. It's not close to the 500-point barrier, which they've said is considered like the all-time low. But it's heading in the right direction, and that's good news for our economy. That means the shipping industry for the overseas container ships is starting to come back. And that's a good thing. That means we may not have shortages in the retail side of things. But if you look at the jobs, if you look at Walmart, the number of stores that they're closing, and a lot of the stores that we have in the malls here, they're also hurting. They're closing. At least they're closing stores. So be careful. You, as a preparedness person, as a prepper, I want to get things I need ahead of time. We talked a little bit about the fuel prices bottomed out. You've seen the prices come back up a little bit. I know diesel is up about 10 cents where I usually fill up. That stinks because I like the low price of diesel. We're getting into the springtime where it's a great time to plant a garden. If you've never done it, expect a lot of failure, but do it on a small scale. Plant just maybe one pot with vegetables in it and see what you can do. But you have to commit to that little planter. I recommend you do a 3x3 garden, 3 foot by 3 foot. You can really get some vegetables out of there or some herbs that you can eat. You can put that in your salads or whatever else that you want to eat. It's really good stuff. My Twitter name is @RenegadeRebel52. That's a good way to follow a lot of the stuff. I put links for different preparedness things on there as well as this show. And we kind of copy what Hot News Talk Radio is broadcasting here. And then Thursday nights, tonight is the night that we have our network meeting. New people, new folks are always welcome. We love to have people join our community. The network meeting is a great opportunity for people to get to know one another and help to maybe teach other people or to learn from them. But also you get to know them, so then maybe you can group up, you can team up. You can do a lot more as a group than you can with individuals. So the website for P5 Preparedness is p5preparedness.com. One of the things you should do is click on the tab for classes, and you'll see the classes that we have for March. We have a bug out bag class, a get home bag class coming up. We've done pail packing. We've got a basic first aid class coming up in a couple of weeks on a Saturday. The first Saturday in April 2nd, we're going to do CPR, AED, and first aid for certification through the National Safety Council. That's important. Everybody needs to have that class. Anyway, give us a call. The phone number is 423-602-2175. Give us a call. Come in the store. We want to help you out. You know, one thing that I want to touch on, I remember there's a lot of TV shows that you hear about from the 50s, 60s, even in the 70s, where the families, they had bomb shelters. They had a readiness culture. They were ready for things going bad. Back in those days, it was the early parts of the Cold War, you know, the Cuban Missile Crisis in the early 60s, that got people building bomb shelters because there were nukes 90 miles off the coast of Florida. Well, now with the technology that's out there, the different countries that have nuclear capability. Just this week, we had North Korea and Iran, who both launched missiles that are capable of, if not reaching the United States, of reaching our allies. And they carry nuclear missiles, or they can carry nukes on those. But how come we ignore that? How come we don't think about a bomb shelter or having long-term storage food? You know, back before the Cold War, or I guess at the beginning of the Cold War, there was a thing called mutually assured destruction with the Russians, the Soviets, where we agreed that if they nuke us and kill 2 million people, we're allowed to nuke them and kill equal amounts, 2 million people. And so we designated certain cities by their populations. And if they hit this city for 2 mil, we'd hit their city for 2 mil. Well, the difference is, well, in addition to that, we were supposed to stop building bomb shelters. That was the agreement both sides had. So that way we're mutually assuring the same amount of destruction for each side. Well, the Russians continued building bomb shelters. And so if we each nuke a city of 2 million, we lose 2 million people in the United States. Russia loses 200,000. You know, they've got the majority of their people underground, protected. Well, we don't have that. But we've given up on that culture of taking care of our own. We need to be ready for something like that. It's not just a bomb shelter. I'm not telling you got to go out and build one today, but it's that preparedness mindset. You know, we used to have a civil defense that helped with that. Our schools used to do duck and cover drills. They don't do that kind of thing anymore. You know, one of the things that I've talked about, and a lot of preparedness people talk about, is the threat of an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse. That's a high altitude nuclear weapon being discharged over the United States that takes out the electrical grid. That's kind of, you know, it's kind of out there. It's kind of far away. You know, is that really a reality? Well, we don't need the electrical grid to be taken out from space anymore. I don't know if you realize this, but in December of 2015, just 4 short months ago, there was a cyber attack in Ukraine. You know, they're the ones that are invaded by Russia. It was a very sophisticated attack where they were prepping for this attack for months. They were able to reprogram the switches from outside through the computer lines. So the operators of the power plants were at their control stations, and they would see the cursor for the computer. It would go over and start clicking on things, and the operator at the panel had no control over it. Their access was completely denied. They were locked out completely. The end result was 250,000 people were shut down because of this hack of the grid system. This is the first hack that we know about or has been admitted to publicly, where a significant population was out of power because of a computer attack. The sad part about that, the Ukraine has more sophisticated cybersecurity than the United States. One benefit that Ukraine had was that they had a little bit older substations where they had manual switches, so they could go out in the field and manually turn the power back on. In the United States, we don't have that option. We don't have manual switches anymore. They're all computer operated. That is very scary, folks. Here's another thing go talk to your local gas station. If there's a chain like Mapco or Kangaroo, somebody like that, they don't control the prices of the pumps locally. That is handled somewhere else in another city or state. And what does that mean? That means that hackers can control the pumps. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to change the price, but it does mean that they could turn the pumps off. How are you going to get your gas with no pumps? That is something that you need to think about. So if the lights go out, what are you going to do? How are you going to cook? How are you going to see? If the lights go out, you're not going to be able to get pumps from the gas station. You're not going to be able to get money out of the banks. You're not going to be able to buy the supplies that you need. The grocery stores are not going to be able to keep the cold food cold. Pharmacies aren't going to be able to keep your prescription drugs cool in a refrigerated environment. And if the power's out for several days, what about your refrigerated goods? Do you have a generator? Do you have solar panels? If you don't, that stuff is toast. And I don't mean toast as in what you put in the toaster. I'm talking about it's gone. It's done. You can't eat it. It'll hurt you if you eat it. Rotten meat, poisonous drugs. Those are things you need to think about. So when I come back after the break, we're going to talk about how does the government respond? If there's a disaster in your area, who's going to do what? What's the local community? What's the local government going to do? Those are things that you need to know. What's FEMA going to do? What's the state going to do? What are you going to do? What are your neighbors going to do? That's what we're going to talk about. Be back after the break.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's got third. He's going for second. Earnhardt going for the lead.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is on the Motor Racing Network.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Hear it live on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Check it out live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Are you prepared for severe weather? February 28th through March 5th is Severe Weather Awareness Week in Tennessee. Do you have a severe weather plan? Do you know how to protect yourself from tornadoes? And most importantly, do you have a weather alert radio? Come to P5 Preparedness and let us help you get ready for severe weather or any other emergency. P5 Preparedness is located on East Brainerd Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel. Look for the Green Army truck. Call us at 423-602-2175. You need to get prepared today. Don't wait until it's too late. Nobody knows what tomorrow holds. Get the skills and supplies you need or die waiting for help. P5preparedness.com.
On your signature, you can get $150,000. Can you believe that? $150,000 on your signature. Hi, I'm Bruce Krebs with the Entrepreneur Source. There's a program right now that you can get $150,000 on your signature with no pledge of collateral or personal guarantee. Call me at 423-875-5621 to learn more. 423-875-5621. You've been thinking about starting a business? Don't do it on your own. I have a proven track record for the last 13 years, a 96% success rate. I can guide you into a franchise where you will pay yourself through the startup phase with very low or little risk. Call me now. I'm Bruce Krebs at 423-875-5621. And make sure to listen to the Entrepreneur Hour every other Wednesday from 11 to 12 o'clock. Call me now, 875-5621.
Hi, I'm Sabrina with Sabrina Realty Associates. Now is a great time to sell your home. In our area, inventory is at an all-time low, which translates into higher sales prices. Call us today at 423-499-7780 to set up a free consultation and discuss our unique and aggressive marketing programs. We will provide you with a free market analysis to determine the right value of your home. Call us today at 423-499-7780 or visit our website at SabrinaRealty.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. More trouble in Ottawa High School. An assistant Ottawa High School football coach is now being investigated after a 17-year-old student says that he allegedly sent her nude photos over Snapchat. The girl said that she was receiving inappropriate Snapchats with the teacher. A Collegedale detective and officer went to the school and met with the SRO, several staff members, and Principal Jim Jarvis. Some of the girl's friends had advised a guidance counselor of the incident, and then the guidance counselor told the SRO. The girl also said that she and the teacher planned to meet for sex on 3 separate occasions. She said she fell asleep on one occasion, on the other they got into an argument, and on the third time, she chickened out, in her words. And the CPD is going to be increasing its policing in high crash areas and heavily trafficked areas of the roads. They're going to be employing what's called intelligence-led policing, one of the CPD's 3 policing strategies. Using this strategy, it will be identifying areas at most risk for increased crash rates and the times of day that those crashes happen. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Looking good out there through the afternoon with some sunshine, warming up nicely, highs 73 to 75 tonight. Milder under fair skies, lows lower 50s. More warm spring-like weather ahead for the midweek, becoming breezy but dry through Thursday with highs back into the mid-70s. Did you know that your car talks to you? Are you listening? All those beeps, vibrations, and light-up icons are your car's way of communicating to help you be a safer driver. Learn more now at mycardoeswhat.org. And I'm Swarm Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patriot.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Nooganomics.com is a slap of fresh air, a 2x4 across the brain every morning. Read Nooganomics.com to find out what's happening in Chattanooga. Local-centric, Nooga-centric. Read it. The man who matters does. You should too. Nooganomics.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
And we're back on the Patriot Prepper Show. A couple of things that I want to talk about before we get into the government's response. First of all, I was talking about the readiness culture and how we don't really have that anymore. A lot of us don't teach our kids what they need to know. A really good way to do that is by getting them involved in an organization like the Boy Scouts or the New Alternative Trail Life. Both of them have advantages. Both of them have differences. So you got to figure out what fits best for you. But find a troop that's going to be active. At P5 Preparedness, we sponsor probably the best troop in the Chattanooga area, and it's Troop 111. And the reason for that is that we go out in the woods every month, rain or shine. It's probably been 6 or 7 years since we missed a monthly trip. The boys cook, they learn skills, they backpack, they hike, they do all the good stuff that boys do. And over half of our boys make it to Eagle Scout. And so that's important. We want to push your kids to do the right things. But the focus of our troop is preparedness, emergency preparedness. There's also a couple other things that I want to mention. And, you know, these are important things. You know what? I'll come back to that in a minute. Hang tight. I'll come back to that. I want to get to the bulk of really what I want to do. And that is, as I said, what's the government going to do for you? Think about the response for Hurricane FEMA. Yeah, that was 10 years ago. But do you know that the government is still paying people relief money for something that happened 10 years ago? There are still people living in FEMA trailers. Why haven't we fixed that? That's ridiculous. That's crazy. So if there's, let's say there's a Category 5 hurricane, a tornado somewhere in the area, it wipes out, we'll just say 1,000 homes. I don't want to pick an area. I don't want to jinx an area. But that's a substantial emergency. You're going to have hospitals that are pressed. You know, the first group that usually comes in is the Red Cross. But there are people that are still picking up, they're still doing rescue work. So you've got the rescuers that are there. Well, those rescuers that are on the scene, it may be, you know, the local fire department, the county sheriff. It could be another agency similar to that. Well, they are the ones that are in charge of the rescue operation. The state will provide money and advice to the local agencies, but it's still the local agency that's in charge. The state does not come in and take over. They will provide resources. They provide funds. They'll arrange for a list of contractors that can come in to do specific work. You know, they may have a list of people that have excavators or tree services that can cut down trees. They have agencies on hand that can provide meals for communities or shelters, things like that. But it's not the government. It's not the county workers. It's not the Tennessee state that provides the workers
for those relief operations. The people that are doing the cooking of meals, those are the people that are coming from your churches. They're coming from the American Red Cross. They're coming from other organizations similar to that, but they're volunteers. They're people like you. So what are you doing for your community? Are you a part of any kind of relief operation? It could be that maybe it's just donations of money or supplies. That's participating, and that's something that you may be able to do. Maybe you don't have the time, or you can't cook, or you can't use a chainsaw or a shovel. There are other ways that you can help. Everybody needs to be involved. Everybody needs to be a member of their community, not just driving by. You don't just watch it on TV. You need to get involved. You need to help your neighbor, because the federal government, they provide money. I think that was one of the reasons that Katrina looked so bad, because we all blamed the Bush administration. We all blamed FEMA. FEMA was never set up to take over a large-scale disaster like what happened in New Orleans. They're to provide money. They provided the National Guard, which was helpful, but it's up to the mayor or the executive that's in charge of that community to declare a disaster and to request the governor to declare a disaster. And then the governor requests the president of the United States to declare a disaster. And then funds can start flowing, and perhaps personnel. But like I said in the first half hour, when has the government ever made anything better? They're too slow to respond. The bureaucracy is too big. We had Dr. David Powers on a couple of weeks ago. He was a member of a response group for the federal government. He was with one of the disaster medical response teams. It took them 2 weeks to get activated to Katrina. That's crazy. But you have to remember that that's not their primary job. Their primary job is providing funding. So, you know what? Again, as I've said many times, it's up to you. What are you going to do? You have to be prepared up front. Again, you have to have skills. You have to have training. You have to have the right gear. Just because you buy a Sawyer Mini water filter and you have it and you leave it in the packaging, that really hasn't done you any good. You've not practiced the skills yet to get that water clean. It doesn't take a lot for the water filter. That's just an example. But there are other things. For instance, if you wanted a ham radio, and so that way you can listen to what other responders are saying to get the information that you need in a timely manner, that takes a lot more time and practice. And believe me, in a disaster, there's really two things you want. You want food and water, and you want communications. Those are probably the two things that you need the most. And why do I say that in that order? Because right off the bat, you're going to be hungry and thirsty waiting for help. It could just be to get you out of that disaster area. But wouldn't it be nice to have a radio and a ham radio that you're qualified to talk on? You've got the license, you've got the authorization, and you can tell people where you are, and you can tell them what help you need. Critical. That's even more important than shelter. Because if you're stuck out somewhere and nobody knows where you are, you cannot get help. In that case, if you don't have communication, then you move on and you get your shelter. But do you know how to build a shelter? In a disaster like a tornado, there's going to be a lot of stuff around to build a shelter. But what if you don't have your medication and going back into your house and trying to find it? That's going to be dangerous. So you have to know ahead of time to have a bug out bag, a get home bag, have some kind of stash of medicine somewhere else that you can get to. Very important that you know how to prepare. It was, I don't know, probably after Katrina, I think, that the federal government came out with the ready.gov website. And I would encourage people to go to the ready.gov website. And it's not as easy to navigate as it used to be. And you would think that with the federal government, they would want everything to be very easy right at your fingertips. But that's not quite how it works. When you go to ready.gov, the first thing they want is your email address. Well, you know what? I don't want them to have it. I don't think they're going to do a lot of good. But if you go to navigation and you look under all the types of things that they're preparing for, or they're helping you to get prepared for, they're giving you the answers. Well, they're telling you there's probably close to 50 things on this list of things that you can get ready for. I mean, everything: drought, earthquake, extreme heat, pandemics, severe weather,
wildfires, space weather is on the list. That's the natural, volcanoes, tsunamis. So it covers everybody in the United States and the world. But then there's technological and accidental hazards, power outages, nuclear power plants, household chemical emergencies, and then terror hazards, biological threats, chemical threats, cyber attacks, nuclear blast, radiological dispersion device. That's a fancy word for a dirty bomb. Think about this, people. The government is telling you how to get ready for these emergencies. So why would you get ready for those emergencies? Well, because you need to. The government is saying that, hey, folks, you need to have a plan. If you click on all of these things, one of the first things it says is have a plan, have a first aid kit, have food and water. So you all have car insurance, health insurance, homeowners insurance, renter's insurance, motorcycle insurance, boat, ATV insurance, camper insurance. If you're going on vacation, you buy vacation insurance so your trip, if it gets washed out or the cruise ship doesn't sail or catches norovirus. You know, you buy all these different insurances. If you buy a new toaster, a new vacuum cleaner, a new DVD player, you spend the extra $5 to get the warranty. That's so you can get your money back if things go wrong. Well, if there's a disaster and you're without power, where's your money back guarantee? You know, that's spending that $25 on the water filter. That's spending $20 on the book, How to Prepare for the End of the World as You Know It. You know, there's a song about that. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. You know what? Cute song, but it's as you know it. You know, if a tornado hits your house, that's a disaster, and your world just changed dramatically. But you can prepare for things like that ahead of time. You need to take the time to do it. The federal government's telling you that you need to, and they're telling you you're on your own. You're not going to be able to depend on us. And they've verified that through Katrina, through other accidents that we've seen. It's starting to make the news quite a bit about the power grid. I talked about what happened in the Ukraine. There's another article from the USA Today. We aren't ready for the lights to go out. This came out just 2 days ago. And one of the first things that they write in there, that's the heading. We aren't ready for the lights to go out. The subheading is, the preppers aren't the only ones worried anymore about a debilitating attack on the U.S. power grid. USA Today, March 7th, 2016. That's a few days ago. You know, folks, you got to get ready. You got to get ready. You can't leave this to other people. You're going to let your kids die because they're thirsty, because you don't want to give them dirty water? Well, what'll happen is you'll give them dirty water, and then they'll die from diarrhea, which is dehydration, because you gave them poisoned water. Folks, be smarter than that. You know, when you had kids, you accepted a responsibility to take care of your family, to take care of yourselves. Are you doing that? I sure hope so, because I don't want to take care of everybody else's problems. You know, hey, you know what? I'm going to take care of mine. And believe me, I've been into disaster areas. I've been working for state emergency operations centers. Let me rephrase that. I've worked for county emergency operations centers. I've been in disaster zones. I've seen what happens. I've seen kids that nearly bleed to death because they have a cut on their foot and their parents don't have a basic first aid kit. I've seen kids crying because they're so thirsty. And I'm the one that's giving them water, and water to their parents, because Hurricane Katrina, it wiped everything out. All the water was salt water. You couldn't find fresh water around there. Do you remember the pictures in New Orleans of the people wading through the streets, floating on rafts, floating on mattresses? There was a lot of water there, folks, but not a drop to drink. A water filter can fix so many problems for you, because there will be plenty of water in this area, but you're not going to be able to drink it. If all your water's bottled water and your house gets destroyed by a tornado, it might take all your water with it, but there will be water around. So you got to have a water filter. I know I'm harping on the water filter, but people, you're going to die in 3 days without water. You know, I want you to have the water filter and the food. And, you know, the government has these plans. We all hear the rumors about FEMA camps.
Well, call it what you want. I don't care. But if there is some big disaster, the government is going to have to set up some sort of area, and they're going to have to maintain order so they can, if it's just to pass out food and water for those walking up or those driving up, there's going to be a line of cars that might be 6, 8, 10 hours long for you to get your water from the government. Wouldn't it be better to have your own supply? Or maybe work with your neighbors so that way you can do it together. There are alternatives that are out there to the federal government because, I tell people, hey, prepare or die. That might sound cold-hearted, cold-blooded, but those might be your options because if you're not prepared, you might die. So why not take the opportunity ahead of time to get ready to do something? I don't know if the power is going to go out. I don't know when it's going to go out, but the experts are saying it's a matter of when, not if. We've seen, you can do your searches on the internet. It just happened in the Ukraine. Unknown hackers, they have no idea who did it, but our government blamed Russia for it. They don't have any proof, but that's who they blamed. Well, Russia's getting ready for something. China's getting ready for something. North Korea and Iran are launching nuclear missiles. They're getting ready for something. Our government, hey, we're focused on the elections. We're focused on crazy stuff, I love NASCAR. I love football. I love sports, but I don't have time for it anymore. I'm interested to see who's going to win the NASCAR race, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect my life. If Alabama football or Tennessee football is going to decide how you are feeling the entire next week, dude, you're a little too close. Back off. It's like if you're a fat guy at the buffet, back off. Push yourself away from the table. You have got to start making some quality changes in your life. I don't care how fat you are. Go to the doctor and get an exercise program. I had to do that. I was a type 2 diabetic. I was nearly 300 pounds a little over a year ago. And then I decided to get serious about my weight. And I lost about 40 pounds, and I'm not taking insulin anymore. I'm not a diabetic anymore. I check my insulin, my blood sugar, not my insulin. I check my blood sugar about once every week or so, and it's good. It's just a few points above the high range. Believe me, folks, if I can do it, you can do it. You just have to want to do it. But think about your kids. I had a guy come into my store one time along with his 2 kids. His kids were about 8 and 10. And he just was kind of in the area. He was going to the store next door, but he brought his kids and he's like, hey, man, this is a really cool store. What all do you guys do? I said, well, we teach people how to get ready for serious disasters and emergencies. And he's like, man, if things ever got that bad, I'd just rather die. I'd kill myself. His boys both had raised eyebrows. And I said, well, what about your boys? Are you not going to take care of them? Or are you just going to let them die too? And his boys are like, yeah, Dad, what about us? And then he kind of laughed it off. I was just kidding. No, you weren't, you jerk. You don't care about your family. You don't care about yourself. Care about your family. Dude, care about your family first. It's not about you, buddy. You brought the kids into the world. You got to get them through thick and thin. It's like being married. If you're married, did you marry your wife or your husband for better? I don't remember any vows like that. All the vows I've seen are for better or for worse. But folks, we got to work through some of those issues. We got to be able to face some adversity. And that's part of the problem with our society today. We don't face emergency. We bury our head in the sand. I'm talking earlier about our culture. We used to have a culture of readiness. We had moms and dads that were ready to sacrifice for the needs of not the government, but for our troops in World War II. Remember? People couldn't buy tires for their cars, so they were walking to work because they couldn't get the rubber because the rubber was going to the war industry. But somehow we've gotten away from that. Little kids used to collect tin cans and turn it over for scrap, not because they needed the money, but because they wanted to help the war effort. Kids, parents, you can get involved. You can help. You can find ways to help, but help yourself first. I think that it's important to help other people, but not at the expense of your own family. In my preparedness group, I have to work with people on that, because the Christian thing to do is to help other people. I wholeheartedly believe that, but not at the expense of my own family. You know, if I'm doing emergency response work, you know, there was a time in my life when I was a storm chaser. I would jump in my truck and I would get on my radio and I would follow tornadoes. And I was leaving my wife and 3 boys behind because I thought it was the greater good to help the community. But how bad would I feel if I'm out trying to do something for other people and it's my house that gets hit? Well, my family's dead. Maybe I could have done something a little bit better. Maybe I could have paid attention to where the storm was going and could have evacuated the area, taken my family out. Well, my family has to be more important than your family. If there's people in my family that aren't worth a darn, well, heck, they ain't worth a darn, and I'm not risking myself to save them. So, folks, you got to figure out where you stand with preparedness. Are you going to make a difference for your family? You know, come by P5 Preparedness. Talk to Seth, talk to Keith, talk to me. We are more than willing to help you get ready. You know, we give a lot of free advice. And while we have products in the store that you can probably buy elsewhere, and you may save $1 or $2, but you're not helping a small business. You're not helping people that are willing to help you. We're willing to teach you classes and demonstrate products. If you go to a big box store and buy a water filter, you think they're going to let you take it out of a box and you think they're going to know how to use it themselves? You know, you have to practice these things. You have to get going. At P5 Preparedness, there's a number of classes that we offer. The average price for our class is about $45. Some are a little more, but some are less. If you have specific questions or you have a group, we'll come talk to your group. You know, there's a lot of churches in this area that already are involved with prepping. You know, the Seventh-day Adventists, the Latter-day Saints, they have prepping as part of their church culture. Those are great places to go to learn about prepping. If you're not a religious person, you can find information on the internet or come by P5 Preparedness. Take one of our classes. Again, you can find out about our classes on our website. It's p5preparedness.com. There's a tab that says classes. How easy is that? We've got the March schedule up. There's a few that are going to be added over the next couple of days for March, and then we've got classes going into April. And don't forget, we take groups camping. You know, we're working on a camping trip for early April where we're going to work on a number of skills: fire starting, how to use a knife, how to build a shelter, and first aid out in the woods. That's very important. You have to know those kind of skills. P5 Preparedness is located at 1309 Panorama Drive. The easiest way to find us is that we're at on Gun Barrel. We're not on Gun Barrel. We're between Gun Barrel and I-75 on East Brainerd Road. That's where we are, East Brainerd Road. Take exit 3A. If you drive up the hill about a mile, you'll see the Army green, big, ugly deuce-and-a-half truck parked out front. Come in and see us. We're open 10 to 7, Monday through Saturday. And you can email us if you have questions, info@p5preparedness.com. You can call the store at 423-602-2175, 602-2175. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just look for P5 Preparedness on those websites. You can't go wrong, folks, by taking care of your family. And we want to help you. You know, if you were listening through the break, you heard our severe weather awareness commercial. While Severe Weather Awareness Week is over, you can still come by the store and you can get the weather radios. We still have several left at cost. You can get those for $19.95. You can't beat that price. What you can do also, we have things for your bug out bag, your get home bag. We have long-term storage food. The Mountain House pouches are $2 off this week only. $2 off a Mountain House pouch if those pouches are over $6. Most of them range between $6 and $10. We have some desserts that are $3.99. Those are not included in the special, but all of our entrees are included in that. So P5 Preparedness is where you need to come. Let me help you get ready. I'm Duke Nukem. I'm on the radio every Thursday, 11 to noon. But you can catch me at the store most mornings. Come by and see me Saturday morning between 10 and 3
Let's hook up. Let me help you get ready for what you think's coming. This is Duke Nukem with the we're P5 Preparedness, and it's the Patriot Prepper Show. Colin Cowherd is up next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
The single deadliest terror attack on U.S. soil since 9/11 has happened. They're here. And it's time to stop pussyfooting around, time to stop this politically incorrect nonsense, worrying about other people's feelings, pull out all the stops, and start fighting for the survival of this country and our way of life. You need to make a plan how you're going to protect yourself, your family, and your kids.